Good evening. Welcome to the regular City Council meeting for Monday, July 8th, 2019. At this time, can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Durossette.
Here.
Councilmember Condit.
Here.
Councilmember Kline is absent. Vice Mayor Ryno.
Here.
And Mayor Vierra.
Here. Next, we will have the invocation by Michael Hanks from the series Pentecostals, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to be here tonight. God, I pray for the leaders of this city. Pray for the citizens of this great city. I pray that all the things that are discussed tonight, they're done so with the idea of progress and the betterment of the city that we live in. I pray your hand upon this meeting tonight. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a few presentations this evening. The first presentation is a recognition to Lorenzo Beltran, School Resource Officer, for being selected as the Floyd Ledbetter National School Resource Officer of the Year. And I think Chief Collins.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. We are here tonight to recognize Officer Lorenzo Beltran for his outstanding work and service as a school resource officer. His passion for mentoring our youth, assuring their safety, and leading them to make good decisions are a few reasons why he was selected and awarded the Floyd Ledbetter National School Resource Officer of the Year. He's a 12-year veteran who spent 5 years as a Ceres police officer. Since 2015, he served the community as a school resource officer at Central Valley High School. He made an immediate impact by implementing a new color-coded evacuation plan for all 21 campuses. I guess one day he noticed during a fire drill that all the kids were sent to one location. In an active shooter incident, that's probably not a good idea. So he revamped the evacuation plans for all the campuses, and the school quickly realized that was a better plan. Officer Beltran also trained every teacher in the district on the proper use of a tourniquet, and he goes out of his way to engage his students daily. At times, he donates his own equipment or spends money out of his own pocket for students who are in need. The positive impact he makes is evident by the amount of students who left the graduation commencement line in 2018 during graduation to shake his hand and say thank you. At this time, I'll read a few excerpts from his nomination letters. He utilizes time during passing periods before and after school and lunch to engage with students in an effort to help them learn to make smarter decisions in their everyday lives. He was instrumental in developing the Criminal Justice Club at the high school, where students are provided opportunities to develop leadership abilities through participation in educational, vocational, civic, and social activities. Officer Beltran also spends time in the district serving as a mentor to our elementary age students. Oftentimes, Officer Beltran will spend his lunch hour in the cafeteria and or on the yard playing basketball and talking with students. This is from a teacher at a principal at Blaker Kinzer Junior High School. I have known Officer Beltran professionally for 5 years, both as an assistant principal overseeing discipline at Central Valley High School and as the principal at Blaker Kinzer Junior High. Over this time, I've grown to value his work ethic, ability to be a team player, and overall commitment to the position of school resource officer. Lorenzo's determination and dedication to students, families, staff, and the community outshine all of his colleagues and to make him a true leader in school safety. And finally, from a parent, this is related to him establishing the Criminal Justice Club at the high school. With caring, dedication, and determination from Officer Beltran putting this program together and encouraging these kids to strive for a career that helps others deserves recognition. Not only is he an SRO, but he is a great role model for these children. He is well motivated and highly intelligent and works hard to take on everything that is asked of him. But this club has been an amazing idea he came up with to involve the children. Mayor, council, it is evident that Officer Beltran clearly has a passion for connecting with our youth. And it is also evident that he is making a huge impact, more than we can do just on patrol. So Mayor, council members, I present to you the Floyd Ledbetter National School Resource Officer of the Year, Officer Lorenzo Beltran.
Thank you. And on behalf of the City of Ceres, I have a certificate of recognition presented to Lorenzo Beltran, School Resource Officer, in honor of the 2019 Floyd Ledbetter National School Resource Officer of the Year. Congratulations for your outstanding achievement. Thank you for your commitment and dedication to our community. Your contributions are important to our success and the success of future generations. The Ceres City Council recognizes your commitment. Thank you for your outstanding service each and every day. Presented this 8th day of July 2019.
Before Officer Beltran takes the mic, and he will take the mic, I do want to present him with a certificate of congressional recognition from Congressman Josh Hodder's office.
Forgot my notepad at home, so. First of all, it's an honor. I want to first off thank you guys, thank the council board for honoring me and recognizing this. It starts from the top, starts from my Sergeant Greg Gutsia. Hats off to him. He allows me and my SRO team to do what we have to do. He trusts in us. He believed in my vision. Starts from Chief of Police all the way down, my whole team. I'm not the only one doing it. We have 4 other SROs also. It starts with our youth in our community. I enjoy what I do. Absolutely love it. I'd like to thank everybody here for showing up. Speechless. It's an honor. And again, thank you guys. Thank you everybody who showed up.
Thank you. Next, we have a presentation to Captain Miller and Captain Cummings for completing the National Fire Academy's Managing Officer Program. Chief Weiss?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's a privilege to be here this evening to present the certificates of completion for the Managing Officer Program from the National Fire Academy to Captain Miller and Captain Cummings. I'd like to give you a little bit of a brief history on the program and how it came to fruition to where we're at today. In 1971, after several years of high fire fatalities in the United States, President Nixon formed a coalition to address the problem. So it was a blue ribbon coalition of 20 fire service professionals that looked to address the fire fatality issue in the United States. In 1973, they created a document called America Burning. And for the fire service, this was probably one of the most important documents that's ever been created. And it's a result of where we're at today in the fire service. It really formed where we're at. But some of the recommendations were to form a National Fire Academy and a U.S. Fire Administration. So in 1974, President Nixon enacted the Fire Prevention and Coalition Act, and out of this created these programs. And so in 1979, there was a creation of the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. And one of the flagship programs of the the National Fire Academy was the Executive Fire Officer Program. This focused on leadership development, prevention and community risk reduction, promote diversity in the fire service, the value of research and the application to the profession of firefighting, and the value of lifelong learning. This program was very successful, but this program focused on fire executives at the kind of the higher level that were striving to be fire chiefs. And after several years of this program, it was recognized that we needed to put a focus in our mid-level managers, our captains, our lieutenants, our battalion chiefs who may not want to be a fire chief someday, but they need that same skill set that's not offered at the local level or at the state level. So in 2014, the National Fire Academy created what's called the Managing Officer Program. And this program focused on professional skills and change management, risk reduction, and adaptive leadership. To get into the program, you had to have taken 5 prerequisite classes, and during the program, you had 4 core classes. And during those 4 core classes, you had to also take 4 other leadership classes over a 2-year period. And at the end of the program, you had to have created a capstone project. And this is very important, and it's where the National Fire Academy really focuses in, on the capstone project. It has to be related to your department, and it has to have a benefit to your community. So both Captain Miller and Captain Cummings stepped up on their own to take this program, and each of their capstone projects are going to benefit the Ceres Fire Department. They already are. So Captain Miller created a program. He saw a need with our reporting system. He saw where we needed to improve our reporting system. So he created a program to improve our reporting so we can give you better data and statistics. And also part of the National Fire Academy is to collect those statistics. So nationally, we're providing value statistics. And Captain Cummings created a program that anybody in public safety knows is very valuable. In public safety, we experience things that the normal person doesn't experience. And he created a peer support program, which we will be implementing shortly. So this program will address some of the stresses that we face in every day, and we can address those stresses before they get catastrophic. In the fire service, there is actually more suicides than there are line-of-duty deaths caused of fire. And it's the causes of PTSD. So hopefully through the peer support program, we can help our members deal with these stresses. So I'm really proud of what they've done and what they've accomplished. Many of the 2-day leadership classes, they had to go to other states to take. And for 2 years, they went back to the National Fire Academy for 15 days at a time to take back-to-back 6-day courses. So they gave they gave up a lot of personal time to complete this program. So I'm really proud to honor them tonight and award these certificates. And I'll go ahead and read. In recognition of successful completion of the requisite courses of study of the National Fire Academy, under the authority granted by the 115th Congress of the United States of America, award the certificate of completion of the Managing Officer Program to Captain Miller and Captain Cummings. And I'd like to ask them to come up, please.
Josh, for Josh and I would first of all, I'm sure like to thank all of our coworkers that covered the multitude of shifts that it took to go to the National Fire Academy in Maryland. We both went to Nevada to take classes, Arizona, up north, California. All that time was used out of our personal vacation time and wouldn't have been possible without our coworkers making it happen. and definitely to our family for putting up with us being gone for half a month at a time for 2 years in a row. That's a big stressor on the family, so we definitely like to reach out and thank our family. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to thank again Mr. Beltran, Mr. Miller, and Mr. Cummings for your dedication and commitment to the city. I think I'm a little biased and kind of speak for the whole council. We think we have the best public safety in all of the state of California, and I think the recognition and what you've done here just helps solidify that for us. So again, thank you for all of your hard work, effort, dedication, and time away from your families. So thank you. Next, we'll move to the proclamation declaring July 2019 as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Ceres. I do have a proclamation here declaring July 2019 as Parks and Recreation Month, whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the City of Ceres, and whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and to a region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of local tax base, increased tourism, and attraction and retention of business, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors, and whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the City of Ceres recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, now therefore I, Chris Vierra, Mayor of the City of Ceres, do hereby proclaim July 2019 as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Ceres. Proclaim this 8th day of July 2019.
A lot of exciting things happening with our Parks and Recreation here with the City of Ceres. And I want to thank the City Council for the support and also the support of the residents, our city manager. We have some great projects and programs coming up this next year. We're funding our events with additional funds that they'll be a lot larger and successful. Also, we have great park projects coming underway. They include Lower River Bluff and some new parks coming online eventually. So thank you to the community and the council and for the investment we make in the parks and recreation here. I think it's very exciting times for the City of Ceres and some great things are happening. So thank you, the City Council and the Mayor tonight for supporting Parks and Recreation.
Yeah. The last presentation we have is a summary of the illegal fireworks campaign. I know we have a lot of faces in the audience today, and I just wanted to comment on this. Through the diligent work of the gentleman standing in front of us here, the city undertook an aggressive campaign related to illegal fireworks. You may have seen we had a hotline, we had yard signs, and a number of different things. So I'm interested to hear their presentation and see how things went, and I think this is something that we will build on for years to come. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Wise and Mr. Crane.
Thank you, Council, in giving us the opportunity to bring to you our 4th of July summary. On July 4th, the Police Department and the Fire Department embarked on its first joint fireworks enforcement campaign. The enforcement campaign ran July 4th through Saturday, July 6th. Staffing for the 4th of July began with a records person answering phone calls
at the police department at 5 o'clock p.m. on July 4th. The volume of calls that came in was more than was anticipated, and an additional records person was needed to handle the calls and emails. A second person came in at 9 p.m., and both records personnel handled the reporting of illegal fireworks until midnight. July 4th, the fireworks tip line received 141 calls reporting illegal fireworks. Between the tip line and calls for service into the dispatch center, a total of 156 calls for service surrounding fireworks was entered for officers to respond to. Additional officers were staffed to handle the call volume and provide directed enforcement of illegal fireworks. The police department had 5 additional personnel working the 4th of July. One of the people who came out to work was actually one of our volunteers. The volunteer helped as a spotter for illegal fireworks. He drove around in an unmarked vehicle and looked for fireworks and then directed our site teams in. The fire department contributed with 1 fire investigator to the enforcement team, making the number of personnel assigned to fireworks 6. For safety reasons, these personnel were doubled up in vehicles, which resulted in 3 additional vehicles on patrol for the entire city. Patrol officers assisted in the enforcement campaign. Between patrol officers and officers assigned to the illegal fireworks campaign, a total of 43 citations were issued on July 4th. There are 6 citations that are still pending that will be followed up on this week. The Police Dispatch Center answered a total of 294 calls for service the entire 4th of July. This includes non-emergency calls and 911 calls not solely related to fireworks. Friday, July 5th saw a major decline in fireworks with a total number of reported illegal fireworks coming in at 30. Of those calls, enforcement teams cited 7 violators. Saturday, July 6th saw an even smaller number of illegal fireworks being reported. 15 calls for illegal fireworks were received, which resulted in 3 citations. Total calls for service surrounding fireworks for the 3-day event was 201. Total citations issued were 53. The outcome of this campaign was an overall success. This is not to say there was no areas for improvement. Staff has identified areas that can be improved on surrounding the reporting of illegal fireworks, better placement of personnel, and you will see the improvements in next year's campaign.
City Council, the fire department responded to about 130 calls over the 3-day period. Like Captain Crane said, we also staffed up 2 of the days an additional engine company, and then the 6th we were able to put a 4th person on our truck company. I'm happy to report there was no major incidents within the City of Ceres. We did have 1 vegetation fire that was confirmed started by fireworks down by the River Bluff Golf Course. About 2.5 acres just along the river's edge, right before dark. Again, I think for the most part it went pretty well with the fact that we didn't have any major incidents within the city. We did respond to a couple major incidents surrounding our area during that time period. I know we've learned a few things this year with our program, and we're still talking about them and discussing and talking with our coworkers of what we can do next year. So we'll have some new ideas next year on what we can do to help combat the illegal fireworks program in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will move to citizens' communication to council on matters not included on the agenda. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in City Council meetings, adopted rules allow no more than 5 minutes for expression of non-agenda items. Matters under the jurisdiction of the City Council and not on the posted agenda may be addressed by the general public. However, California law prohibits the City Council from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Citizens are entitled to address the City Council on any agenda item subject to the 5-minute provision. At this time, I do have one speaker card. It looks like it's David Luganville. I'm not sure if I got it right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for providing this for the citizens. I really appreciate this, to be able to come and say something. I've lived in this town. I bought a house in this town. I've been here for 26 years. My house is paid for. I'm retired. I'm 72. My wife is 77. I came down and bought a 3-day permit for garage sale. Paid my $5. went home, had my garage sale. I prayed first, Lord, help me get rid of all of this stuff. And I was done by Friday afternoon. Took 2 days to do what I thought would take. I might not even get accomplished in 3 days. I thought, man, I'm done. Took a trip to the dump and got rid of the last of the debris. A couple days later, my wife has handed a notice that I got I broke the rules by putting up my own signs, and too many signs. I understand why we have this law. Believe me, I understand it. Driving here from where I live, over at the Blue Ridge Estates, we want to buy your house, jobs, learn how to play the guitar, all this kind of stuff up everywhere. I was done in 2 days, which means, and that evening, Thursday night, I went out and I collected every one of my signs, even the ones that blew off the poles and were laying in the street. I picked them up, I took them home. I was done. I get a fine for $136.47 on top of the $5 that I paid for the permit. And I just feel like I just got kicked. I paid the permit. Now, I understand I'm supposed to read the permit. I'm a man. We never read the instructions. We just do what we need to do to get done what we need to get done. I was trying to make my wife happy, and she was until we got this. Within 2 hours of receiving this, I came down and I paid the bill. I'm a good citizen.
Question for you, and I'll ask staff this question too. When you signed up for it, did they give you any instructions on?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Who reads the instructions?
Okay.
I paid the $5. I was happy. I'm getting something done. I understand why they do this.
Sure.
Lord knows this town's got plenty of signs plastered up on its telephone poles and any other place where people can put them. I suggest to the council that they may consider sending Jeff Denham one of these tickets. His signs have been up for a decade, and they're still up. I'm just saying, we need to think about what we're doing here to the good citizens.
Mr. Wells, is there, and again, excuse me if I, don't have this down, but is there any way that we can issue at least a first warning to someone when this happens? I mean, God forbid if he only sold $130 worth of stuff, I don't want to take all of his money.
Unfortunately, the municipal code, there is no discretion. It is absolutely crystal clear, and with the focus of this council on code enforcement, the code enforcement activities have been after signs of this nature, and there's no provision in the municipal code that allows for us to issue a warning of this type of nature. It's on the permit. It clearly says no off-site signs.
Can we modify that when we're going through this?
We're going through the municipal code update, yes. That's a council policy decision you can make.
Excuse me, my understanding says I'm allowed one sign in my yard. How's anybody going to know where my yard sale is?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I'm just asking for some. I understand you can't help me. I understand that.
Well, I
just want you to feel for me.
What we can do is we're going through, as a result of our general plan update, we're going through all of these issues. In fact, we have a pretty healthy agenda over the next 3 to 6 months that goes through it, and we can put in provisions that allow that. I mean, I think the whole intent of that at one time is we didn't want to have someone that, like you, but might have a sale, and then you have signs over in Eastgate, assuming you lived on the east or west side of town.
Yeah.
And just
I put my signs on Whitmore and Hatch.
But you'd be surprised how many people do
I understand that,
so.
and they're still up now.
Yeah.
They've been up for a long time. But what I'm suggesting is, if a person buys a 3-day permit, on the 4th day you go out there and you see if those signs are up. Most of us who care, we put our address on there. We're not ashamed that we're having a yard sale. We want people to come to our house so we can get rid of our junk. And you'd be surprised how many people will buy junk. But I'm just saying, I would think, and the fact that they did, I was done in 2 days. My signs were down in 2 days. They did this immediately.
Sure.
I didn't even get 1 day of grace.
Vice Mayor Ryno?
So you took your signs down on Thursday, and when did they ticket you?
I received this, excuse me, because I didn't bring my glasses. Could you look at this?
I have my glasses, sure.
Say, probably Saturday.
But your sign, it was on Friday, it says, but your signs were down on Thursday.
I was done.
So if his signs were down on Thursday, how could he get cited on Friday?
Yeah, please.
No, I'm curious. I mean, you've admitted that you had your signs up, but I don't see how we could issue him a citation on Friday if his signs were down on Thursday.
So, Mr. Wells, what leeway do we have with this? I mean, I feel for the gentleman. I would like to have us obviously address this when we go through an update.
Yeah, it'll be an agenda item for, in terms of this particular situation, we would need to look at the case history.
Okay.
Normally, every code enforcement activity, if they're going to write a citation, they document it. So it has a picture of the sign in this type of situation. So the case history shows the sign that they cited for. So without commenting on his specific issue, on the global grand scheme of things, this will be part of the conversation with the municipal code update. But on the specific individual,
why don't we get, I mean, we already have your name and information, but
And Ms.
we'll
Dean just
reach
got
out
his
to you and see what we can do.
Gentlemen,
Okay.
ladies, thank you.
Hang on for a second, I got a question. I understand the man thing, not reading the instructions, and my only concern, counsel, and I feel for you too, don't get me wrong, but had you read the instructions, you wouldn't have had your signs up, and you wouldn't be here this evening. And we had gone through a lot of work in regards to changing the sign ordinance. And I do understand there's signs everywhere, and there's multiple people having multiple without even getting one of those things. I just don't want to open up a can of worms. I mean, we had a gentleman here that had the feather sign up, trying to show, just as you're trying to show your garage sale that you have once, whatever time frame. And here's a gentleman who owns a business, whose business is struggling because people can't see where his business is. I'm just concerned, and still feel bad, I'm just concerned that we're going to open up a can of worms, that we're going to have a warning on this one, and then all of a sudden, well, somebody may come in and they may say, well, there's a warning on the feather sign, or a sandwich sign that's in front of a new place that obviously is illegal.
I don't think we said we're going to do it. We're going to look into it, but
Right, I'm just saying.
But there's a bigger discussion to be had when we go through the sign regs, which will address this and the feather signs and everything else.
Didn't we already do that, though? I'm just asking.
Well, we did, but now we're going to
We'll do it again.
readdress it
Okay.
again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you again, everybody.
And for those of you who wanted our municipal code, as a result of our general plan update, we go through our municipal codes, so anything related to the city will be discussing and or changing as we move forward. So if you would like to be involved in that, let the city clerk know, and we'll notify you when the chapters come up. The book's about 6 inches thick, so. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Ron Richter. I live in Ceres, thank you, California. I would like to make a presentation to the council. You know who I am. The National Wildlife Federation has granted the City of Ceres Howard Stevenson Wildlife Grove honorary plaque. You can present it down there, put it down there, whatever you'd like to do. Linda. Anyway, I guess that's the only reason I'm here, to say thank you for your service. Thank you for chance. Don't give me that stuff. I know your family. don't sit there and grin at me. Brent, just look at your paper. Anyway, thank you for your service. Thank you for volunteering.
Can we work with him? I mean, I don't know if you had a specific place in that
I
grove
can't hear
wanted.
you, Brent. I'm sorry, Chris. I can't hear you.
I was just asking staff to work with you to see if there's a specific place within that grove that you would like the sign. Just anywhere?
I'm sorry, can't hear you.
We'll take care of it, Chris.
Okay.
There.
I can't hear you. I'm an old man. I've only been here for 70 plus years in my life.
We're going to put the sign up.
Maybe down there on the poles, Linda knows.
Yep.
Maybe put it there. If I can, Chris, if I can give that to you,
Sure.
or
You give it.
We'll give it to Mr. Damas. He's in.
He'll put it up. The
Point
gentleman
over
right
there.
there, I'll put it up. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Dave Pratt of Ceres. And you know, when I'm out and about and I see some of these yard sales going on for days and weeks, and I see all these signs, all the poles and stuff out there for days, and seems like the ones that try to do the right get dinged. The one that was talking about the suicides, you know, it's not just the veterans coming back with PTSD, but civilian agencies also have the same issues. And it's behooved to hopefully that more people can recognize when somebody has issues, and most of the time you need to just listen to them, and maybe you can do the right thing just by listening. As far as the fireworks goes, it was mild going in and mild going out, but all of a sudden it looked like it was corrugated. All, you know, they all went up at the same time in different neighborhoods. So somebody had that well planned. And my wife said that somebody drove by the dog park, threw out firecrackers, and so that was good. We got a lot of idiots out there. And I found out, I started to taking pictures of stop signs that are covered and street signs that are covered by trees and stuff. The one I did post, they showed up and trimmed the trees, and it looks good. So I'm going to have to do more of that. Thank you.
You.
Okay. Don Donaldson, 2305 Joy, or 2305 Joy, or 2301 Joy. There's a bunch of them. Waste whalers. Let's go right outside and look down there, and you'll see two of them right against your deal. I drive by here every day going over to John's, and you've got waste whalers. Across the street, there's furniture on their front porch. Now, how can you come down Joey Avenue and catch me every time when if you go right outside, you can look and see everything that you need? I've got a motor home that won't start because your resource officer told me, or your whatever he is drives around, told me that it didn't have any license plates on it, any tags. And I said, yeah, you're right, it won't start. The motor's dead, the batteries are gone, because you told me to disconnect it 2 years ago. Now this new one that you got come up and said, we never had a code on that. He can't tell you to unplug your motor home. Well, nobody told me to come and plug it back in. So that's 3 batteries you owe me for disconnecting my motorhome and not coming and telling me to plug it back in. So they gave me a ticket for that. Well, they didn't give me a ticket because I proved to them that I went to the DMV and I had a non-op on it. But they wasn't satisfied. They kept on looking. Well, you got this wrong. You got an air compressor in your driveway. I said, yeah, I have an ATV there that I'm going to fill up the air in my ATV. Well, you got a toolbox there. Well, you're right, I got a toolbox there. Well, you got furniture there. Yep, you're right, I got furniture there. Because I took it out of the room that my granddaughter and I were painting. He come out there and I had six barrels of stuff in the back of my truck when he come out there and started talking to me. I said, are you kidding me? You're going to write me up, and I've got 6 barrels of junk in the back of my truck getting ready to go to the junkyard. Yep. I don't know. So what I want is just to equal. I just want to be treated just, you know, if my garbage cans are in between my wife's car and the motorhome, and the only time you can see them is whenever you drive by, and the way people drive down Joey, they could never see them anyway. Because Joey Avenue has got that turn right there, and it's like whenever I was a little kid coming out of Riverbank on that, seeing how fast we can make. That's the way they come around Joey. So I'm going to be at this deal about making new regulations. I want to be, but I only want the people at this meeting, Chris, that lives in Ceres. I don't want people from Turlock or anywhere else to come in and make rules for us. This is Ceres. I only want the people in Ceres to vote for Ceres rules. I mean, you know, a bunch of us that's been here for, I can't even remember, 73, I think, 72 I bought my house. That's another thing here. My water bill is $100. My payments on my house was $100. Can you believe this? It's costing me more. It's costing me more for my water bill. It's costing me more for my water bill than it did. So I don't understand that. And here you guys are having water, and here's a woman in Turlock that she's the mayor, and she doesn't want to get into the water. I thought we had that water deal settled. Getting into 2 different things here, but I get 5 more minutes on the water deal. That's not on the agenda either. So we got to get something done about this, about the water deal and about the garbage cans and about, oh, my brother gave me 5 bicycles from Ripon. I brought them home. The people around the street from me's got kids, and I gave them all to them. I even gave them a unicycle. The parents said, no, he can't ride that unicycle, he's too young. And I said, well, keep it for him, he'll get older. The kids come over the other day, and I gave them a catcher's glove and about 40 white softballs. The rules have changed, they're yellow now. Gave them a basketball, a pitchback, where you take a basketball and hit the net and it bounces back to you.
Don, can I ask you to finish up your comments if you could?
Well, the bill is $168, okay? Chris, not going to pay it. Chris, we'll go to the court. I'm tired of them coming out there and picking on me. So if we go to court, we're going to go to court. I'm telling you, I'm mad and aggravated if they come by at my house, and there's a lot of people around my house that has the same thing. So why is somebody mad at me? I don't know. But it's not fair. It's not fair. It is not fair. Pick on one, pick on everybody. Thank you. My name is Lee Brandt, and I'm in Ceres. I actually wrote a book, but it's not appropriate to read it. But I want to read the first couple of paragraphs. I want to congratulate the fire department and the police department on their 53 citations issued. It's a great start. However, there's still way too many super loud, high-flying fireworks, and I know that there's plans in the work for next year. You know, like I say, it's a great start. It's just too bad that there's no other way to celebrate our nation's birth. I mean, the world's changing, you know. But anyway, my concern is for the people who have pets that are deathly afraid of loud booms. I do know that there are people who actually left town to protect their pets. And what about the veterans? Some have PTSD and TBI, and it really bothers them. Did you know that a local 33-year-old vet of the Iraqi War committed suicide 2 weeks ago? He was our neighbor and friends of my kids. And it's just absolutely horrible that this had to happen. So, but I do want to reiterate, I want to thank the fire department and the police department. And yes, I will keep the sign until next year, as long as the number doesn't change.
I just want to say tomorrow morning I got to go into the vet at Modesto and talk to my PTSD. And everybody knows that I take medication. That's why I get a little going. Okay? But I've made it this far with neuropathy in my legs, with prostate cancer, with clogged arteries, with macular degeneration. I get a shot in my eyes every 2 weeks. And Chance, thank you for all you've done for me, for the veterans, okay? That's great.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the council on a non-agenda item?
John Warren, Ceres. I want to thank the police department, fire department for a great job on the weekend. Also want to maybe suggest or point out, law enforcement, I think, always has the opportunity to issue a verbal warning before they issue a citation. It's one of the tools in the book. And even with the municipal code being as it is with people that have garage sales and other types of sales on their property, if they obtain a permit, of course the city knows about it and they know what the address is. I think maybe from what I understood in this particular instance, I don't think the code enforcement officer made contact with the violator. It seems to me, or I think it maybe was sent in the mail or received it some other way. So sometimes when you talk one-on-one, or if you go by the residents and say, hey, did you know you're not supposed to have a sign out down there on the street, only in your yard? And if the person's cooperative, maybe a verbal warning is in order and it doesn't need to go to a citation. And that's a process that takes place with speeders, people parking improperly, and so forth and so on in the community. So maybe rather than changing our code, which I know we're going to be doing coming up, and I think some changes are needed in various sections of that code, maybe some rearrangement or discussion with the energetic code enforcement officer, which I'm glad we have, thank you very much, would not cause these type of problems that we just heard about. So thank you very much.
Is there anyone else?
Uniquely serious. When these people are getting these permits in the, I guess, the finance department there, excuse me, maybe to clarify what he was saying, that maybe there should be some reading of the instructions, and I'm sure these people have to sign something when they get a permit, but if they don't speak English or what have you, I think it should be reviewed at that time. I know it's time consuming for each individual. I don't know how many are handed out every week or purchased for yard sales, but if the management could go through that with them and specify that, yes, they understand, sign here. I don't think it's just cut and dry. You know, if you can read it, you can obey it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. With that, we will move on. We have no appointments to boards and commissions this evening. Conflict of interest declaration. Is there anyone on the council that would like to declare a conflict of interest on any of the 9 consent calendar items or 1 new business item? Okay, with that, we will move to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by a single motion unless otherwise requested by an individual council member or the public for special consideration. Otherwise, recommendation of staff will be accepted and acted upon by roll call vote. At this time, is there anyone on the council that would like a consent calendar item pulled for further discussion?
Item 9.
Anyone else? Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like a consent calendar item pulled for further discussion other than item 9? Okay, I'll bring it back to the council for direction on the first 8 items.
Move to approve 1, 2, 3, 4, 5A, B, 6, 7, and 8.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Durossette.
Yes.
Councilmember Condit.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ryno.
Yes.
And Mayor Vierra.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0-1.
Okay, item number 9, resolution number 2019-79, authorizing the release of unclaimed money to the city's general fund or other funds so designated in accordance with the California Government Code Section 553 and approving a budget amendment. Vice Mayor Ryno?
The staff report states that the $89,791.40 will go to the city's general fund for the purchase of 2 police units, and I would just like that stated in the resolution, that it will be going for the purchase of those 2 vehicles.
Okay, are there any other comments? All right, is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this item?
As a layman, where did the money come from?
Asset seizure. This is over the course of several years where potentially a drug rig, drug stop, any number of situations where there was money left in some type of situation that was booked into evidence and kept until statute of limitations, and then we do a noticing process for the government code, provide appropriate notice that's unclaimed, then under the government code section we have the ability to claim that money as revenue.
Okay, if there isn't any discussion, is that a motion?
Yes, I'd like to move to adopt resolution number 2019-79 with the addition of the verbiage that the funds will be used for the purchase of 2 police vehicles to be used by street crime investigators.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Durossette.
Yes.
Councilmember Condit.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ryno.
Yes.
Mayor Vierra.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0-1.
Okay, we have no unfinished business this evening. We have no public hearing, and we have 1 new business item, resolution number 2019-80, approving the Big Valley Grace Community Church license to use agreement, authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement, and approving a budget amendment. Matt. Mr. Wells or Matt, I guess? All right. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight, it's my pleasure to bring to you a new opportunity for the city to utilize our facility on Sundays when it's not utilized. Right now, currently, the community center is closed to the public since it's been open. And kind of give you a little history about this is Big Valley Grace Church, BVG is their nickname, approached us in end of April about what about utilizing this community center? They'd been in a search for about 6 months looking at properties around the City of Ceres. And so they kind of exhausted that effort and approached us. And of course, I know when Mr. Westbrook brought it to my attention, I was like, this would be a great idea with offering church services here if we can have a steady, 50 weeks of it. So as we met with the BVG staff, we worked out an agreement over the past couple of months that we want to bring to you tonight for approval. The terms of the agreement are for 2 years with additional 3 1-years for a total of 5 years. And this is kind of the use that they'll be using the facility is on Sundays. Every weekend probably except we've limited the agreement to the Ceres Downtown Festival or Street Fair. That weekend they will not have services. So they'll probably be using the community center 50 to 51 times during that week. For each Sunday, and basically how we structure the fee structure on here is it's about $5,300 a month and includes 1 staff for 8 hours. They can use multiple rooms at the community center, and they have to take the lead on a lot of the setup needed for the Sunday service. Again, they'll have access to the building at 6 a.m. when our staff arrive, and any additional hours after that, 8 hours, they would be responsible for an hourly fee they'd pay to the city on top of the $5,300 each month. Again, we can raise the fees each July 1st at 2%. And that's the use A. Again, during our negotiations, they approached us about do we have any office space here at the community center? And our current teen room had been closed for about 2 years. We did some health and wellness programs out of there. They weren't very successful. So we're looking at repurposing that teen room. And so it was a great opportunity to rent that teen room out monthly to bring in additional revenue to the community center at $1,500 a month. And basically BVG can use that office during our office hours, our community center hours, and be open to the public. They can use our restrooms, and they have to provide their own internet and telephone service, and we'll provide the utilities, power, and the rest use of the restrooms. And last is UC, which is pretty much we offer to any nonprofit in Ceres or this area, is they can rent any room out they want 12 months in advance, just like any resident can come in and rent. Let's say they want the banquet or assembly, large assembly on a Saturday night, they would have to get in line just with anyone else that wanted to rent it, any resident. They'd be a tier 1, and they'd be subject to the city council fees for that UC. One of the great things is one of our challenges has been is we've been losing a lot of business out of the community center. We lost Safe Mart recently, and the reason for leaving has been the AV. Our audiovisual equipment hasn't been up to their standards, and I think what we've agreed with the Big Valley BVG is to upgrade our AV in the large assembly room, and also they'll be purchasing the new monitors for the council meetings that they can also show their services in this room and the large assembly. So basically the costs are, our revenues are about $82,250 for this fiscal year if we start the September 1st with the Sunday services and start July 15th with the office space. And we thought we'd bring in probably an additional $12,000 in revenue through UC. And then in fiscal year 2021, we're expecting to bring in $65,158. $1,000 in revenue. The office space will bring in a little additional more because of the 2% increase, and they'll use it the full fiscal year. And use of the rental rooms, another $15,000 for a total of $98,518. Our expenditures, basically our custodial services that we'll have to provide on Sunday now. Right now, the building is only cleaned Monday nights through Saturday, so we'll have to add Sunday night into the facility. And that has already been developed in our current agreement with the environmental services who we contract with, so that will be a very easy change to our contract. Is about $5,750 for this fiscal year and $6,800 for the next fiscal year. Part-time staff salaries are $13,782, and those are the salaries that will cover the Sundays and any additional rentals BVG does under UC. Miscellaneous contract services, $750. That is that do any repairs to the AV equipment and miscellaneous contract services we'll have. Supplies and equipment, $1,500 for signage and additional equipment we'll need, and then staff uniforms for $100 for a total of $21,882. I think this really is a great partnership with the city. We've worked really closely with BVG to get this to the council as fast as possible, and I look forward. Any questions the city mayor and the city council have for me?
Are there any questions? Vice Mayor Ryno?
I have quite a few questions just for clarification. On the USAY, which is the weekly Sunday church services, they'll be using all of the building, all of the rooms, correct?
Except the computer lab and the staff
And
offices.
Correct. And then they have that from Sunday, and then on Monday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. for Bible study and breakdown of the classrooms. But what happens to the Young at Heart that starts at 9 a.m. on Monday if they've used that room? And Young at Heart has been using our facility for at least 9 years.
Definitely, we've already worked with them. They wouldn't be using that room on Monday morning. They'd be using probably the small assembly or large assembly for their men's prayer group, which they've had about 80 or 90 participants. They've started that July 1st here at the facility.
Well, I think just to be clear, then we need to say that on Monday that the fitness room cannot be used from prior to, it can be used prior to 8:30. It needs to be cleaned up before 8:30 because the Young at Heart needs to go in there and set up their chairs and everything like that. And if you were to look at the agreement, the way it's written now, that would not allow that to happen.
Okay, we can make that update in the agreement. That's definitely.
Well, I think that Young at Heart has been using our facility for so long that we need to keep that in mind. And I don't want to be any kind of a conflict between them and the church. And the senior lounge opens at 8:30. We'll just adjust that in our information that it won't open until after 9 o'clock then. When you look at your brochure, it says it opens at 8:30, but now we'll just change it to 9.
No, it'll be 8:30 still. We'll work with BVG. We need to probably make that small update in the contract to saying that they're going to use a certain couple rooms, not all the rooms on Monday morning. I apologize for that.
Okay. And then on the design and installation of the AV system, do we have an idea of how much that will cost the city?
Right now, I'm waiting for the 2 other bids to come in. I don't want to say yet, just because those bids are, waiting to hear back from 2 companies. So I'll have that by the end of the week.
Okay. And who will do the setup of the large assembly room? Because in one section I saw where staff may assist, but do we do that now when somebody rents the large assembly? Do we send our staff in to help set it up, or does the renter just do the setup?
Due to the large, setup of getting ready for Sunday services, our staff will not take the lead on that, but kind of maybe supervise that. There is a lot of setup. We only have 1 staff on site, and we're working with BVG on ensuring there's volunteers here with the setup and stuff. We do have to get the building cleaned and everything, so it's not going to be ready till 5:36 in the morning. So we're going to definitely work closely with BVG that they'll have to do most of the setup, but we'll work, if we can do any of the setups, let's say Saturday night during a rental here, we'll work closely with them to get those done too.
And then the large assembly room, the max capacity is 300, so they'll be using potentially this room as part of their service?
This room is probably for their infant child care area. So yes, they would be probably broadcasting on the TVs here the service from the other room.
Because we'll be aware that we have a limit on how many people can be in there.
Absolutely. That limit is for dining or sit down. There for theater style, it's a little higher. I'll have to look. Can't get the number off the top of my head right now.
I think it's 420.
420, yeah.
And then I have a question for Mr. Wells on the fiscal impacts. Miscellaneous contract services, do you know what that covers?
What he has budgeted?
Oh, would it be?
It'd be for the audiovisual equipment to maintain it each year, do any repairs and stuff to it. that type of
It's
stuff.
an estimate at this
Oh,
point.
It's an estimate.
Okay.
That's an
So
estimated
it's-
increase associated with this agreement
Okay.
above what we have budgeted in the current budget.
Okay, so when you're showing expenditures, even though the staff report talks about the water, gas, and electric being included in the rental, I don't see it as an expenditure.
Again, we're assuming there's a relatively minor difference. All we're showing you is the increase. So obviously, there's going to be somewhat a level of an increase. We're not to that level of sophistication of being able to forecast it that accurately.
Okay. And I believe Mr. Lohr said there was no overtime involved with staff, but we don't currently have anyone working Saturday, so how would that, Sunday, so how would that not involve overtime? They'll just be hired to work Sunday?
Correct. They're temporary part-time, and so we're ready to move forward. We've let HR know if this agreement goes through that we need to get a couple staff on board for this to cover the rental time on Sunday and be ready have them on board by September 1st.
And then on the license to use agreement, under little d, it says that they have to provide a monthly schedule at least 21 days before the start, yet in the staff report it says that they will use the facility Sunday 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Monday it would be 6 a.m. to 8:30. Why wouldn't that be in our contract?
If they want to use an additional time and beyond the 6 a.m., I'm trying to look for that right now, let's say from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., they'd have to give us 21 days, let's say if they're going to do an event till 8 o'clock at night, that we could properly schedule the staff and give staff proper notice and make sure we have coverage, that we don't incur any overtime or anything. So they'd have to give us 21-day notice, let's say 3 weeks out before their Sunday service if they were going to go past the 2 p.m. time, that we could schedule staff.
Okay.
And that's billable with, we've included overhead and everything in that staff cost.
And then for their different ministries, like the food bank and the food giveaway, would that be considered part of the, if they did it within the Sunday, if it was going to be another day, then they would have to pay that additional charge?
Correct. So if they wanted to rent another room, they could do it based on UC, which is 12 months in advance. So if they want to have a women's prayer group on a Wednesday night, that would be possible as long as it fits in within our general rental use of the facility under UC and the fees.
Okay. And they are going to have a room that will be exclusively theirs for storage space, and it says it's a community room. Which one is the community room?
It's the former team room.
Oh, but it's okay.
It was
Then
being
that's
renamed,
fine.
yeah.
Okay. And then there's also a section on authorized signage, and it says that they can have directional signs and safety cones for parking. Where would those be placed? Because I don't believe we allow, under our sign ordinance, an existing church to put a directional sign on the sidewalk. We don't allow that, do we, Tom? Mr. Westbrook?
Depends what type of signs. We haven't seen what they've shown us. Entrance, parking lot area. I don't think that there's a prohibition against the directional signage to get people to the entrance.
But they can't put like an A-frame out on the sidewalk that says the church meets here, because we don't allow other churches in town to do that. Is
You
that
were correct, and they couldn't put a sign on Whitmore Avenue suggesting Big Valley Grace Church ahead this way. They couldn't do that either.
Okay, so it's strictly going to be parking, and it can't be on the sidewalk? Or can it be on the sidewalk?
It can be in the planter area next to the sidewalk. Typically, what we don't want is blocking the sidewalk, so.
Well, I'm just thinking of our existing churches, that if we aren't allowing them to do that, it's not good that we would allow a church that's renting our property to do something that we don't allow other churches to do.
Absolutely.
But that too can be addressed when we have our
Right, but
revamping. But for now, you're correct.
And I think that some of the agreement talks, they're going to have signage opportunities here. So I think that those are probably minor in nature. I would agree, but they do have signage opportunities on the building itself.
And everything that they put up has to be taken down either on Sunday or Monday. Is that correct, Mr. Lohr?
Correct.
And those would be my only questions.
Councilmember Condit?
Sure. I was just curious if there's any other religious services that take place here at the community center, or has there?
Yeah, I've checked into it, and for about the past 9 of the 10 years of the community center, we've had an annual or biannual Jehovah Witness conference here on Friday nights, and they've again have been held to the same standards as we're going to hold BVG, and we've always accommodated not having security here to help the church out and that type of stuff. So we'll work with other churches have also rented American Legion Hall over time before they develop their parish or move somewhere else.
So if another church of another faith would like to come out and kind of emulate what they're doing here, they would go through the same process, pretty much.
Correct. I mean, with signing this agreement, we'd be locked in. We're with BVG, but there's also opportunities at American Legion Hall and other sites. If this wasn't available, I'd direct them maybe to the school district that has capacity for that possibly.
Sure. Just my only concern is that this being a public building, we don't want to show one preference for one faith over another, and that's my only concern with this. But other than that, I support our new partners and welcome them to the City of Ceres.
Any other questions, comments? At this time, I'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this item?
Gene Yakeley. Yeah, I'm curious, all these years the community center's been here, I probably should have asked this question before with other organizations or weddings or whatever, and now the big possibility of the church sharing a community center, which would be nice. What about the liability? Do they have to post some kind of bond or something, even for small events, let alone this huge group of people that are going to be here possibly, so the city isn't forced into some kind of lawsuit in the future? What's in place right now, if anything?
Everyone's required to provide insurance. Every rental.
It goes by the day?
Every rental.
Every
rental. Every rental. Every room, every time a person signs a rental agreement with us, insurance is put in.
That's part of the price?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, depends on the situation. There's factors, if they have alcohol, other things that come into play, but yes.
What's the average liability cost?
Cost to the user?
On a day basis?
Matt may have that. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Yeah, and I know Mr. Yakeley, the agreement calls for $1 million and $2 million in insurance that'll be provided by BVG to the City of Ceres.
On a daily basis?
Yes, okay. It's a coverage. They're using our offices and our facility on Sundays.
That's the coverage they're providing.
Yeah, I'm glad you answered that because I didn't know, and I'm sure a lot of people behind me don't know how this works. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Okay, I'll bring it back to the council. I just had a couple of comments. Early on in the process, I had an opportunity to meet with the Big Valley Grace leadership. I think, Matt, you summed it up best when you talked about a partnership. When I heard all the things that they are doing in the community in Modesto, how it appears to be that they're heavily involved in the Love Modesto and are significantly helping a number of disadvantaged families, and it just seemed like it could be something that is very positive for our community. I agree with Councilmember Condit that we want to make sure that this is a public facility, so we do keep that available for others if there is some interest, and if there's some overlap, perhaps we have other facilities that can be utilized. I also think from the city's perspective, this helps keep this facility fiscally viable, which has been a challenge for us for a while. And the irony of this whole thing is the building that this is, or the site that this building is built on, was previously a church. For those who remember, so it's ironic that we're here today. So, if there aren't any other questions or comments, I'll look for either more discussion or direction.
Move to pass resolution number 2019-80.
Can we include in there the
changes that you had
with the two offices?
Yes.
Second.
Staff, did you get those?
Yes, on those two offices.
Okay, so is there any questions on the motion or from staff's perspective? No? Okay, so we have a motion, and did you second?
I second.
And a second. This time, can we have the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Durossette?
Yes.
Councilmember Condit?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ryno?
Yes.
And Mayor Vierra?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0-1.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we will move to council member referrals. Is there anyone on the council that would like to have an item placed on a future agenda?
Yes, I would. Since it's fire season and it's here, I would like the council to consider giving authorization for a strike team for our fire department to Chief Wise. I'd like that discussion to probably take place, and hopefully in the near future, since fire season is here.
Okay. Mr. Wells, can you put that back on there?
Sure. Curious on priority-wise. As we know, the next council meeting is likely going to be canceled because of lack of quorum for July 22nd. August 12th, we start the municipal code discussion, have several other items that have been brought forward, so just hoping for some council direction in terms of level of priority with these other items that we have.
Is that something that even needs to be discussed? Because I know the discussions that I've had with you is just give the authorization. It's pretty simple.
Well, council has given direction in the past that was at the discretion of the council for deploying strike teams. So that is a change in direction if you're going to go that way to give that authorization back to the fire chief. So I do believe it would take some council discussion for that to happen.
Is that written in stone, though? I mean, is that something that we had written down?
I believe you did take action, and we can verify it, but I believe there was an action taken that basically changed that process several years ago.
As you remember, the way that it currently worked is we had taken a stance we didn't want to take part in strike teams, but as of recently, when there were, I don't know if it was the rim fire or some other big events, we did it on a case-by-case basis. I think the issue, and again, we can bring it back up, it's always good to have a discussion about it, but I think the discussion at the time was we were okay with providing strike teams if it was relatively close, but if it was going to be something way outside the area and it was going to tax our,
Right.
not tax, but, spread us a little thin and cause overtime and other things, then it was a concern. But I think it's probably good to have the discussion again and give staff direction on it. So I would say, hopefully it's not a long discussion,
Well, maybe it'd be helpful to have a presentation by the chief, or I don't know if that's possible to do
Of course.
a short
Yeah,
presentation.
that's what we would, I'm just like I said, scheduling the items. Now that we had the municipal code direction last time, we're looking at having pretty much a pretty robust discussion item on every agenda between now and January. So just trying to spread these items out that the council has asked for and just making sure that I'm hearing the right level of priority for the different scheduled items.
I mean, I guess since we're in fire season, it's probably, something that we should make as a priority, but I don't know how long you want to be able to put together.
We can do it.
August.
Again, as long as you're comfortable moving a few things off of that August 12th, then we can do it on August 12th. Just, I assume the council doesn't want to have 3 or 4 hour meetings, so I'm trying to manage that level, but we can do it on August 12th.
If you can do it on the August meeting, that's fine. Does that work for everybody else?
Yes, and I don't see why we can't have a 3 or 4 hour meeting to get things taken care of, but that's my opinion.
Okay. Anyone else like to have an item placed on a future agenda? Okay. Without hearing anything to report, I have nothing. Vice Mayor Ryno?
A reminder that I'll be gone the next meeting, that the last concert will be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at the Whitmore Park. National Night Out is August the 6th, which is a Tuesday, from 6 to 8 p.m. at Whitmore Park. And I'd also like to find out, I heard that code enforcement is now working 4 10-hour days. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So we needed a full-time secretary, but she's part of that 410. And so on Friday, we have one code enforcement officer working, and I'm just curious who our support person is when somebody's calling in with complaints on a Friday.
I'll look into that.
Thank you. And that would be it.
Councilmember Durossette?
Nothing.
Councilmember Condit?
Sure. I participated in ride-alongs with the police and fire department last week. I want to thank Chief Wise and Chief Collins for setting those up for me. It was a great experience. Busy couple of nights. Thank you for all you do. Also, my office hours are here at the Community Center every Saturday between 12 and 2 p.m. Hope to see you out there.
Okay, Ms. Dean? Tom? Mr. Wells?
Nothing this evening, Mayor.
Mr. Westbrook? Daniel, okay. Mr. Collins?
Still not used to this. For taking the lead on our first year campaign, which I thought was a success. I'd also like to thank Chief Wise's team and my team, who went out and really went out there and made a difference this year. I think was evident by what we had to respond to on Friday night versus Saturday night, significant decrease, and we'll make the improvements that they suggest going into next year's campaign. So I just wanted to thank everybody for their participation.
Sure. You know, along those lines, I had an opportunity to talk with a captain from the Bakersfield Fire Department who indicated that they do something very similar. They issue a $1,000 fine. Now, I can't verify this, but you might want to look into this to see what they're doing. He mentioned that they will issue citations even if it's a citizen complaint and the resident has to pay the $1,000 fine before it can be reviewed and determined if they were at fault. And he said, surprisingly, only about 1 or 2 of the 50 or more that they do that way, all the rest end up paying the fine because they know they're guilty. So anyway, I don't know if that's 100% true, but that's what was shared with me. So it sounds like it's on par with what we're doing. So yeah, they said that it's horrendous in Bakersfield. So with that, Mr. Chief Weiss.
Test. Okay. I'd just like to reiterate Chief Collins' comments on the 4th of July program. And again, like I said earlier, we're going to take a look at it. We've kind of got everybody a little excited about different ideas and things that we could do next year to improve upon what we did this year. Also, I missed one important factor in my presentation for the Managing Officer program. There are only 10 graduates of the Managing Officer program in the state of California, and 2 of them are Ceres Fire Department firefighters.
Great. Okay, Matt? Nothing? Let me see. Jeremy? Nothing? And Steve was here. I'm not sure if he's here any longer. He's gone. Okay. With that, we will move to closed session, public employee performance evaluation. Then after that, we will report, I believe, from closed session, and we will, it says here that we will be adjourning to Monday, July 22nd, but I believe due to a lack of a quorum, we will actually be meeting on, the next regular scheduled meeting will be Monday, August 12th on 2019. So thank you.